Hey everybody, it's April 30th, 2024, and I want to start out by saying I take that back. I have the right to take back some of the things I've said, and I want to start with one of the things I said today, and I don't mean it in any other way except for however many are granted according to His will. That's how many days we should be able to continue to celebrate. While we're here, of course, we do want to celebrate the opportunities that we've had with one another, no matter how dire the circumstances, to help one another, rather than continuing to separate one another from being able to participate in these, what can only be described as final days. So for many of you who are tuning into this channel, you hear a lot of interesting topics. I use words with their actual accompanying definitions wherever I can. And that's because some of this stuff is just off the cuff. It's off the cuff because it's straight from my heart. And a lot of people who know how to communicate in these ranges of emotion, you feel gifted. You feel isolated from everybody else. While everybody celebrates and continues the old ways, you feel like you're independent from these things and yet free to do everything you want to. But isolation isn't natural for many people, and for people who were only children growing up, it's an easier circumstance. And if we forget that we've all got these individual upbringings that are so varied that sometimes we can't recognize when we're paying attention to our own ego and letting our ego drive every single action that we do on these limited days that we have together, then we start to acknowledge that there is something that comes to kill, steal, and destroy, and it does it so simply that it's like honey that turns to ashes in your mouth. These are circumstances that we aren't able to understand until we start to recognize when people are telling the truth or not telling the truth around us. It's called discernment. Discernment is something that we get the ability to do when we recognize how we would behave or misbehave at the same time. So a lot of people don't accept those shadow thoughts that are natural in everybody. And for those reasons, sometimes we forget that discussing the truth is more important than anything, and it's paramount to it. And so for that reason, as we continue our existence and operate from a state of faith, we will no longer be afraid that things like crystals can interfere with our well-being. I saw something today that was kind of interesting. It talked about how crystals were witchcraft. And I think that for a mineralogist, or even for anyone wearing a crystal around their finger, then that means that's the practice of witchcraft. And if it is, we might want to think about it, whether or not it is true. How it's generally accepted in the general public is what applies to our reality. And as our realities begin to intersect so that we recognize, hey, why is this being made on this specific day? And then as we recognize it's because it was made for you, the listener, then maybe we can start to help one another during these final days that we are all experiencing right now, whether it's just one more or many, many more. But don't pressure anyone into trying to receive more than we deserve. That's basically the objective here. We need to do with what we've got, help each other out, and move forward. Thanks for tuning in. Everyone who's tuning in for truth, you know what's going on, and you're acting as if it's important, and it is. So it's an important day. I appreciate that you're celebrating it with me right here. It means a lot. Have a great one. Peace, love, and all that old school stuff.